Welcome to Factory Frontline, where we bring you the real stories behind leaders building India's next wave of brands and businesses. I'm Faukia Wajid, and today's guest is Supriya Shirsat Setum, founder of Foray, a premium sustainable fashion brand built on natural materials, circular design, and conscious manufacturing. She's also an inspirational speaker, and before entrepreneurship, she spent over a decade at Jet Airways, leading mobile, commerce, and innovation. Supriya, welcome to Factory Frontline.
Thanks so much for inviting me. I'm so thrilled to be here.
So let's dive into the questions. Our viewers would love to know about more about your work. Before we get into work, what's something you're genuinely excited about right now?
Well, I'm always excited about new possibilities. I'm always looking for new things, and that keeps me going. So, yeah, that's what's exciting me. There's some new stuff that we've been working on, some new product launches, and so yeah, I'm very excited about that to see when it comes to light.
So, if someone who knows you well described you in three words, what would they say?
Creative, intuitive, and positive.
When people hear your profile, they see titles and achievements. But who are you beyond titles? What do you stand for? Can you throw some light on that?
Beyond titles, I don't think titles really matter because these are things that are very transient in your life. And I don't live up to those titles. I just be who I am. And whatever comes, that's what I live for. So titles are something that will always disappear in your life, and you have to keep moving on and acquire more titles in your family, relationships, friendships, work, everywhere. And that's something that I strive for.
Let's know about your origin, Supriya. Take us back. What shaped you early in life that still shows up in how you lead today?
Well, most importantly, I feel that I was always given the independence of thought to do things, to explore things, to make mistakes, be it at home. And even when I joined my first workplace, which was, in the aviation sector, it was largely an entrepreneurial journey where, I built products which were not in existence then. It builds an idea of, taking risks, creating a resilient mind to know that things are not always going to be predictable. And it allows you to build that kind of an ownership for yourself, a commitment that you have towards yourself and also towards the people who put that trust in you. So these are some of the values that I believe shape me and something that I love to build on as every passing day.
Interesting, interesting. So you worked across aviation and fashion, as you said, two very different worlds. What did your early career teach you? I mean, about discipline, performance, and customers.
See, when I joined Jet Airways, I started working first with a brand which was called Kids. It was a kids brand called Jet Kids, where it was more about collaborations, supply chain management to have products on board inside the flight. So they're huge, complex operations. Then I went on to lead and develop the ecosystem on mobile commerce. And that time it had just started. Mobile technology was still making its progress. And travel as an industry was, a pioneer in that sphere. So I got to work on very innovative products that sometimes were built only from a customer engagement or a customer service point of view and not necessarily to sell a product. The idea of creating products, that create value for a consumer is something that I learned there because it was like a school. The building on when you have an innovation as a concept on which you are building your products, you automatically look at a different kind of a journey which is more like a fight because you are against already pre-built systems and models in the world. You are creating a resilient mindset. You are creating a mindset that is prone to working with ups and downs because things will not go as they are planned. And So that's what I learned early on, customer service, quality, brand building, uh, creating products that create value for the consumers. And that is something that I brought on table when I created Foray as a brand. The idea of creating products which have responsibility, but at the same time also create value for not just the consumers, but also for the ecosystem and build on resilient principles that should take the brand for a longer span.
Wonderful. So, what was the moment you knew you were going to build Foray? What changed internally?
So, see, when I was in Jet, I traveled everywhere. I got to see so many products. I got to see, and as a corporate organization, if I may say, it was far more ahead of its time in the way fashion was within the organization itself. People dressed differently, people dressed well, and that's how travel industry typically is. But what I'm trying to say is that at that point, I also came from a background which was associated with fashion from my maternal side, building garments, and fashion was always part of growing up. Art discussions always happened on a dinner table, and all those things always existed. But as I started building on my career, your personal values also grow at the same time. And at home with my grandmother making home recipes, for it could be the way you take care of yourself, or even with your garments. Those are the early learnings, and I think as a country we've been endowed with that, the responsibility that we always had, and now we call it sustainability, but I think we've all brought up with the same values. So when I started incorporating the same way, because when you grow up you get that independence to live that what you've learned. So when I started, building on those values, um, there was a discussion which I was having about accessories, and at that point, I also realized that especially when you talk about fashion accessories as a medium, it's either either synthetic or it's a different material. So there is nothing where people were really talking about a value based system when it comes to developing a handbag or a belt or a wallet. And it was just a thought. But it consumed me a lot that why are there not too many alternatives in this space? Like, when you talk about garments, you have so many different materials that are responsible. Saying, why is this a gap here? I could travel, so I went to Europe. I met manufacturers, I met factories out there. Cork was a material that I really loved because, as an artist, I've always looked at nature in a very different light. Cork resembled that because you still see the bark of the tree visible in that. So that was my muse. And I thought somebody will be creating a brand like that and I'll go and buy. I waited. Nobody did that. So that's when I started building one piece together and saying that if nobody is doing, can I do it? And so all the learnings that I had is something that I poured into creating Foray.
I really like the way you said, instead of being your business, making your business around the problem, you're going to focus, or you focus on the solution itself. That's great. So, in that transition, what was the biggest fear you had to face, and how did you move anyway?
See, the biggest fear was, would this be accepted? Or would if the product that I'm building, would it be liked, would it be loved? But that becomes secondary when you think about what you're trying to build. And the idea was that I did not want to look at sustainability from a problem perspective. I wanted to look at sustainability as a solution perspective. And that was something that I wanted to build on, because when I launched Foray, what I really wanted to do was I wanted to talk about products that are made with clean materials and beautiful designs. We wanted to talk about only the product and how it fits into your lifestyle. So if you look at our page today, you look at our website, you look at our Instagram, we are not telling you what's going wrong with you. We are telling you how good this product can enrich your life. And in that way, the storytelling comes into picture. So the whole idea was a shift in perspective, a shift in perception. We are here to tell stories about beautiful products, about artisans behind it. We are here to talk about connecting the dots from farmers to the material that was about to die and how it got a new life and how it now sits into your wardrobe as a beautiful accessory. So this is the kind of statement that I wanted to bring out. It was way early in time. Today we have lots of brands. The material supply chain has been further developed, which was not the case initially. So this ups and downs initially was scary because you come from a corporate background, which is well protected. You're working with a larger ecosystem. You're working with peers. You can have water cooler talks and get your stress out. But here, when you have your own idea and you're building something where no playbook exists, it's you and how internally engineered you are to follow it through.
Amazing. Really, really interesting. So the next question. Let's, talk a little bit more about Foray itself. When you started your company, Foray, what was your real sign of validation? The first customer, first repeat, first this can work moment.
So there were two, three instances, but the big instant is I read about a pop-up which was coming up for sustainable and vegan consumers. I had a certain idea of how my brand would look like. Uh, Within a week, I applied for it. Within a week, we had nothing, no collaterals, no branding, but products were there because we were sampling. My whole family got together. We made, I had a vision of what the brand should look like. So we printed everything, we did all that, and we set out the pop up shop. It looked very professional. Nobody knew the hard work and the chaos that was behind it. But as the day passed and as consumers kept coming to us and they kept bringing their families and friends to come and see, some even left behind their watches with us because they wanted to show the product to somebody who's standing somewhere else. So those kind of early feedbacks when you're talking to a consumer, it gives you that hope that okay, you're on the right path, you're thinking right, and most importantly, the idea that I had of my brand that day, I just debunked the entire creative thought. That day gave me a new thought about what my brand should be and what I was really thinking about. So two totally different trajectories. So that was the first consumer feedback, and we were sold out by evening. So that was the earliest validation that we had of what we are doing, the kind of designs that I want to build on, the kind of products that I wanted to create.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what was the hardest part of building in the early days? Product, operations, marketing, or just confidence?
All spheres largely because you're creating a new kind of an identity, a playbook which never existed before, a new kind of a supply chain which again was not there in that much of dominance. So to give you an example, see when you're working with not so new material, not so materials which have been in the industry for long. You're working with uh, using, like for example, the banana bug. You are creating your entire design strategy around beautifying that material which has come from nature, and it takes its own ups and downs. You have to work on the product till the quality comes out right, and it means that you, the artisan, everybody, your marketing team, everybody around you has to share that same vision. And to get it to that state internally, you have to be confident about what that should look like. And that's when everybody levels up. So hardest part was first building the supply chain. Like today, I can be confident and say that we have got diverse suppliers across different materials. And I personally go and meet them and have a rapport with them because that's how I believe that partnerships is the way, or friendships is the way that you can really create a different kind of products in the market. And this is the relationship making for me is where I invest a lot of time. And the challenge was this trying to, your material is new, the product idea is new, the way you want to put your brand statement, like even the marketing, I was very clear about what kind of a language we should have, not what sustainability really stands for, but what really sustainability should be. It should be, it should not be a marketing language on paper. It should be a promise which you can visibly see. It should be an impact that can be visually be measured. And that kind of language, when you talk to your team as well, references are drawn from what is there. But what if you want to create your own structure, your own kind of an idea? It's a challenge, to convince and to bring everybody on that path. So, yeah.
You spoke about relationship making, brand statement, and a lot of things. So I understand today you handle design, development, marketing, and customer relationships. So what's your method to prioritize without burning out?
Well, the most important thing is customers first. Second is, see, all these things, I cannot prioritize one or the other. But I have one rule book. Whatever I do, I only ask myself one question: is this going where it is supposed to be going? If it isn't, it's not really worth investing in. So it can be any function. The that takes priority where the answer is very clear that this is 100% conviction that it is going in the right direction where it is supposed to be, and that takes the precedence for that role.
So here I would like to ask something more, something that I would like to know. So the moment you are obviously working on a project, on tasks, your specific goals, and how do you figure out, how do you find out that this is not the right direction? Because you just said that is this the right direction that I'm going? You introspect, you immediately figure it out. But how do you? So what are the questions you ask yourself, before you figure that out at every point? Because you'll have to be very much aware and awake about it.
Yes, see, one is that you have your vision of where your brand should be, what you're trying to build. And for example, let's say you are invited to a pop up and it's very glitzy and celebrity and everything. Well, does it really align with your values? It may promise a lot of things, but do you really need to be there? Does it really hold value for what the kind of brand that you are building? These are some questions that come to you naturally when you breathe in and breathe out what you want to do. And it takes time, but you slowly get to a path where you just learn to cut off that noise. And for that, you have to be really present, because if you're present in that situation, in that moment, and you're able to just clear everything out, you know exactly what it is. And if it is not fitting into that path, it's not really needed.
This is a lot to take, especially for the early entrepreneurs, and in fact, with entrepreneurs at any stage of their journey. Especially what I take away from this is to completely dive into the industry, the work that one does, so that the person is always present, and we should be able to cut the noise. That's really good. So now that you're speaking about diving in, being the founder, being the business person, what's one founder habit or system you've built that made the business more stable?
I think the most important thing is to be consistent and to show up no matter what. And consistency and discipline is the key.
Okay, okay. So, and a lot of people talk sustainability, but premium consumers still buy style first, if I'm right. So how do you balance trend plus desirability with sustainability?
Well, I have a very different way to look at this as a question. Well, people are not really buying one versus the other. Well, people are buying what showcases their value, and it's not wrong in that part. The problem is that we haven't built brands enough that can give you desirability at the same time allow responsibility. So at Foray, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to address the same problem that a consumer will always choose what the consumer believes in. And at that moment, you have to be present. It's not the other way around. So sustainability without desirability does not work. And desirability without responsibility is the task that we have to take.
Lovely. So can you, just in plain words, give us your process from the beginning till the end that happens at Foray?
Right. So whenever we are building a product, A is that it starts with an intuition, but it is also backed by some kind of an intelligence. There is a lot of research that goes behind it. Technology is obviously used to understand what kind of product should work in the market. Um, for that kind of a product, the right kind of material is chosen. Now, when the product design is being made, we work with the artisans, and it's a collaborative method because I believe the artisans know very well where that form structure can break, not break, or know how it can be developed further. So we build on their understanding, but keep the idea of what a 4D design should be intact. So it's a collaborative process. Together, we work on a design. And so once the design is done, it obviously goes through its own sampling, testings. And we also get early feedback, from peers or from from in the industry as well, from celebrities who want to try the product. So there's a lot that goes behind in the development of the entire product. So from that, like for example, if we have to say that when we were building our banana bark bags, the idea started from the discarded stem of the banana tree, which is the banana tree dies after it gives fruits. That's where the journey for the tree ends. But what if the tree journey can be, given more, given a longer span so that it can connect more people together? From there, the other journey starts, where the women who are living in the rural areas, they go and pluck these stems and then they convert it into ropes, and then these ropes are made into crocheted structures. That structure comes back to our studio here. And from there, we build onto our own design principles, creating a product which is truly unique. What I really love about this process is that you're not just creating a beautiful product or a beautiful accessory, but what you're doing is that you are creating something which is an additional income for the farmer. You are building on top of it for a sustainable environment for rural women. You are creating another layer which builds on a good product made with an intention of a good design that sits on a value of creating customer retrospective, a usage which is really happy and also which is suited for the modern lifestyle. So there are these lots of check boxes that have to be ticked while creating these kind of products. So this is the long and short of the process. Simple on paper, very complicated in
Beautiful, really
execution.
nice. So, what are your non-negotiables as a brand? We will never compromise on this sort of thing.
Most important is the quality. Second is a timeless design.
Okay, interesting. And what's one misconception people have about sustainable fashion?
Well, one misconception, uh, there are many, but well, the idea of sustainability today is that is boxed into a certain kind of a narrative. Like if you think sustainability, you will think about a woman wearing white loose clothes, walking on a beach, and a lazy day. But I think that's a myth. We need to bring sustainability into daily lives, office people, attending parties, attending weddings, attending corporate boardroom meetings, all into a principle rooted in responsibility and sustainability. I think that's the biggest myth that needs to be cracked, and that's what's limiting the approach towards what sustainability is. Sustainability is not just about clothing; it's also about the way we all lead our day-to-day lives. It is about a promise that we are making, and it is definitely not a destination. It is an entire journey, and we all are sustainable in our own ways. Somebody who is maintaining their garments well, or somebody who is keeping their handbags well, very well retained so that it can be used for a longer time, is being sustainable. If you're cautious about not allowing the water tap to keep running, you are sustainable. So there are so many different concepts around sustainability, but what it truly means is that making measurable steps that can really create a perspective, create a change in the way we consume and in the way we adopt things around us.
Great, wonderful. Really, really interesting. The fact that you said that sustainability is not just in the clothes you wear, but should be there in every part of our lives, in every occasion that we go to, and one must be sort of socially responsible and to become sustainable in almost every part of life. So that's a very good takeaway for me. So when it comes to Foray, Foray has received recognition from major publications and has been spotted on celebrities. What do you think actually builds credibility in a premium brand?
Well, what brings credibility is, again, I would say consistency. If you create your products with that consistent thought, with what is a brand, technically, it's a promise that you make to a consumer. So when you build a product with that kind of a consistent output, it automatically starts building a layer of trust that this is what I expect from this brand, and this is what I will get. And so the awards and everything are secondary. But if a consumer comes back to you again, that I think is the biggest award that you should pat your back on.
Really interesting. So, what has worked best for you to build visibility? PR, community, storytelling, collaborations, consistency. What really has worked for you?
Well, I think what has really worked for us is the kind of products we make, because it is also a lot of word of mouth. It's a lot of organic marketing. Today, we are not, going and approaching or chasing anybody. People come to us because of the kind of products that we've been making, the kind of research that we do in building our products. It shows when you hold a product and the aha moment that you have, it reflects in the entire philosophy of the brand, and that is something that consumers keep coming back to. So what I would really say is building the right kind of a product is what has really worked for us.
Okay, okay. And as a founder, when it comes to marketing, how do you think your, personal branding, what do you think about it? And what's the role of a founder in building trust?
Well, founder is who is a founder? Somebody who started with that core idea and who is leading the team or leading that ecosystem or leading that product, leading that industry. It could be in different spheres. Who is the face for that particular brand, and what you bring, the energy that the founder brings, is something which is sacrosanct, right? And that is what builds the trust. You cannot misalign it. You cannot tamper with it. It's that exuberance, that energy that the founder gets, and that shows up. So a founder's responsibility is way too high, because you have to be emotionally be connected and yet pragmatically and lead with a lot of certainty.
So, founder being the face of the brand and making sure the energy is retained and there's some sort of synergy and synchronization between the two. Really, really interesting. So when you say, next gen consumer brands, what do you think the future belongs to? Data, community, innovation, product innovation, sustainability, or storytelling?
Well, it belongs to the consumer always. It belongs to the emotions of the consumer. But most importantly, the next generation is going to be this emotion, which is going to be backed by intelligence. So it's always going to be the consumer first. Whatever it is, it could be a technology product, it could be a sustainable product. You could launch anything in the world, but your center should always be the consumer. But when I talk about next generation, what's going to really work is, like I said, it's going to be emotions backed by intelligence.
Yeah, lovely. So when you speak about emotions backed by intelligence, what is the role of video marketing in your opinion for the brand?
Video marketing is what it's a channel, right? It's the way you are communicating a story. So when you are talking about, there are different ways that you want to represent and tell a story of your brand, and when you are showcasing it through a medium of video, which currently is the way forward, and it is relevant because of various reasons, that you're all the time glued to watching something or the other today. It could be social media, it could be movies. Your 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 entire demand of your life today is focused around a video, and it could be from news to, it could be reels, or it could be going back home and again watching it on Netflix. So you're centering your entire thing around this new concept, which is which is not something which has happened because the new generation demands it, but because I come from a technology background, I feel that it's also the way it organically starts building up, as generations pass. Today it's all about, there was a time when it was all about audio, when your radios existed. Then it moved to televisions, and your marketing centered around being present on televisions through ads. And that same format moved to your smaller screens, which is your mobile, which again led to your video marketing. So as times progress, channels will be built. At the moment, yes, video marketing is
Amazing.
what.
Really good. Very nice. A few, I mean, the last question before we move on to our rapid fire. So, what does Make in India mean to you personally? And what, do you think Indian brands need to improve to compete globally?
So, Make in India for me is bringing value from India to the world. We are, we've had some of the best artisans. We've got some of the best, you know, uh, medias of art and craft. But the amount of creativity that we have, we need to now start building more products using that level of creativity. Products that can stand for the entire world. Products that can, shape with the right kind of brand building and storytelling, that which is very unique to what India as a country can bring to the world. And that's something that we really need to focus on now.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you so much, Supriya. And let's move to our rapid fire. I'll just ask a few questions and you can quickly tell me what you think. So, yeah, the first question is one book or podcast or person that shaped your thinking.
Book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Great. The second question, one hard lesson you learned that changed you.
There is nothing called as a mistake. It's only a road that was wrongly taken.
One leadership habit you practice daily.
Consistency.
One skill young professionals must build to become globally competitive.
Listening and being constantly curious.
One thing you want to change in India's work culture.
Work culture. It's not about the time, it's more about the value that you bring in that time.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Supriya. Thank you for joining us. This was powerful. What I'm taking away is, in fact, a lot of things. The fact that you said one needs emotions plus intelligence. In doing marketing, founder is the core face, the core idea. In the company, and that synchronization has to be there between the founder and the energy that one brings. The collaborative style of working, the people who make it design, and then it goes on to become a product and then it's sold, and a lot of things, relationships, people coming together, getting having consistency in your work, and a lot of things I've learned, and I'm sure our viewers also would just love listening to you speak. If you've enjoyed this episode, dear viewers, subscribe to Factory Frontline. We post full conversations and short clips from every episode. This is Faukia Wajid signing off. Do you have something to say, Supriya, before we sign off?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. This was truly interesting. I really loved talking to you. And thanks so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Supriya. This is Faukia Wajid signing off. Keep listening to Factory Frontline and see you in the next episode. See you.